Hello there, and welcome to today's Gina Gardiner and Friends show. I'm really thrilled to invite Andrew Miller, who's a great friend. He's an amazing guy. He is the founder of Business Enjoyment. He's a TEDx speaker and a multiple author. If you ever get the opportunity to go on his Purpose Challenge, then I really recommend you do it. I've done it and it's amazing. Andrew, a huge welcome. Thank you very much for joining me.
Thank you for having me on, Gina. Looking forward to the conversation.
Brilliant. So before we get started, and we're going to be talking about time management and the things that block people feeling successful and happy, time being one of them. Tell us a bit about how you came to be the founder of Business Enjoyment and, how did you get here?
Yeah, and one of those that could be a long tail, but I'll try and keep it short as can. So bottom line is followed the usual path of education, career, all the things you're meant to do, and got to a point where I realized basically wasn't enjoying what I was doing. I had one of those realizations that I'd just been following a path and ended up being soulless. I could do the job. I enjoyed the people I was with, but I didn't want to be there.
Okay, fair enough.
And I started trying to work out what I did want to do. I'd got more into personal development and that sort of thing because I was becoming a leader of teams. I worked in an accountancy firm, global accountancy firm, but a very specific role was actually my job was running businesses. It's a specific form in the UK, but when businesses go bust, I took control of them and ran them. That's the bottom line. It's different to 11 they have in America, but yeah, running businesses is basically what I did. I got more into personal development and realized that's kind of where I wanted to be. So I stepped out after 17 years of following the NOR route to set up my own business. And I actually started working with people who were going through these financial difficulties and losing their business, and help them deal with the emotional stress that goes with that, because there's no support for those people, the confidence and the guilt and all these things that can come with it. So that got me more into the personal side of things. So I had the business and the personal side going on, and then over time, when I'm working with other people, realized that okay, those that have lost everything, you can understand why they're not in a great place. But you meet people who are doing all right, you meet people who are doing really, really well, and they weren't enjoying what they were doing either. I mean, they might love the thing at the center of it, but there was always some sort of stress, some sort of worry sort of floating around it. And it just made me realize, hang on a sec, why on earth are we doing this? And society is geared to just focus on money. Business is all about making money. Success is all about making money. And that's how we've been sort of brainwashed. But that's not who we are. So there is a massive disconnect between who we are and society in which we live. And that causes a lot of the stresses and issues and the challenges that we have. So flip side of that is enjoyment should be the measure. And not just in a hedonistic sort of sense. I've got a sort of model of what enjoyment actually means, sort of thing, and purpose is a big part of it. But that's a better measure of how well we're doing than just how much money we make.
It's an interesting concept for many, I would think, because we have for so long measured success by the size of the bank balance.
Yeah, exactly.
And I know from my own experience of working with clients, both business clients and personal clients, that often success is something that's ephemeral. People succeed in achieving their goals, whatever those goals may be. And that moment of success is great, but it dissipates very quickly.
Yeah.
And then it's, well, is that it? I thought that's what I wanted and I've got it. And now I still don't feel happy.
Yeah. And it's the, what I often talk about is like a lot of what it is about, and you will talk about this a lot and other people, but it's being happy in the now. I know that's a bit of a cliche, but if you're always pursuing something, you're always looking to be somewhere else, and I will be happy then. Well, if you're not happy now, there's a good chance you won't be happy when whatever happens, because it's a state of who you are. So it's about being happy in the moment, but still looking to push forward and motivate yourself to go in a forward direction as well.
I call it the "I'll be happy when" syndrome.
Yes,
and the interesting thing is, not only is that happiness always in the future, not in the now, and you never know if you're going to get there, but also we keep adding the criteria. I'll be happy when I've got the perfect house, the perfect partner, children who don't need to be nagged to tidy up their bedroom, you know, a dog that never poops, and, you know, all of those things. And then when those things are achieved, then we add more and more.
It's always something else, else. And you can never fill that vessel.
No. Whereas when you choose to say, I choose to be happy every time I see something beautiful like a flower, or every time a friend says hello, or whatever, it's much easier. But I want to get onto the theme of time.
Yeah.
Time management. You know, how many people do you know that are chasing their tail and say, I haven't got time. There's never enough hours in the day.
I think it's one of the key issues. I mean, well, time, team, and money are the three main problems in business. You know, money is an important thing. I don't dismiss it. What I'm talking about, working with the right kind of people, that's important. But time is just one of those things that is always a major factor in everyone's day, everyone's week, everyone's year. And most people, I don't know anybody that doesn't complain about it at some point.
My mum used to say that as you grow older, the day gets shorter.
Sure.
And I used to laugh at her, and now I think, do you know what, she's right. But I find it really interesting that, you know, when I've worked with people and I ask them to pinpoint how much time do they spend being busy rather than being productive, often it's the major part of their day.
Yes. Yeah, and it's an excuse sometimes as well, because we get praised for being busy, and we get remonstrated for being, inverted commas, lazy.
Yes. So
and if we're not doing something, we're lazy. But yeah.
So tell me, when you are working with individuals or businesses, what are the principles for you of around time that would make a difference to our listeners?
Well, I think there's a couple of things, but one is there's three key mindsets which I think you need to have in place in order for the tools that are out there to work. There's some great tools out there. I'm not knocking any of them. You know, your Pomodoro technique, your urgent and important matrix, your eat that frog from all these sort of things are really useful. But what a lot of these things are sticking plasters.
Yes.
And they work, but we're trying to get beneath that and trying to understand what the real problem is. So first of all, there's for me, there's three key mindsets, and I'll tell a tale. I'm not sure how time. Shout when you want me to stop, and we'll have a break, because I'm sure we'll have a break at some point. But I'm just going to set up a scene as to where this came from, because I think it's always nice to get a bit of context.
Okay.
So I'll set the context up, and then maybe we'll bring in the reasons behind it. But I went to a workshop that was being run by the Chamber of Commerce, and it was called "Get Your Email Down to Zero, Your Inbox Down to Zero." And I thought, oh, that sounds like an interesting workshop. Let's see what they've got to tell us. And the reality was, it was quite a disappointing workshop. It was essentially somebody who was selling Microsoft 365 products, and he was showing you how you could use all the tools within Microsoft 365 to move things and shift things and all the rest of it. And I don't have Microsoft, so it was absolutely a waste of time for me. Very useful for you, I'm sure. But the truth of it was an extended version of the do, delegate, dump sort of concept. Yeah. And it was a bit more than that, but it was using the tools to move things to various folders. Bottom line is that if you didn't deal with something straight away and it needed dealing with, you put it onto your to-do list.
Yep.
And there was a little moment where I sat there going, this is just cheating. All you're doing is just removing everything from your email list and put it onto another list.
Yes.
And you can say your inbox is empty, but you've still got the stuff. That's not. So I was start off a little peaked. But then as I sat thinking about it, I just had this little bit of revelation, and suddenly realized that one of the key things at that point as to what was important. And for me, it was like, oh, of course, our to-do list is infinite.
Yes.
There is no end. Every time you put something on, take something off, then 5 more things come on again, and it's just going to be this everlasting thing. And for me, that was a great revelation. I was sort of like, yeah, wow. And I shared it in the group, and then I started telling other people and all the rest of it, and then other people going, oh, that's quite depressing. And I thought, no, it's not. And then I realized what they'd missed. and it was inherent to me, but they missed it. I say, yeah, because this is the second thing, because it's infinite, you don't have to do it all. You can't do it all. That's what infinite means.
I think that's such an important point, and it's something that I learned when I was a head or a principal of a school, is that the to-do list is not something that you have to finish each day, which is when I first started, that's what I tried to do, and it nearly killed me. Before the break, Andrew Miller was explaining to us about the infinity of a to-do list, and how the realization that it was infinite and therefore you're never going to finish it. So stop driving yourself up the wall trying to finish your to-do list. But there's a third critical part to it. So Andrew, the floor is yours.
So the key thing is that you realize that when you look at your to-do list, everything on that to-do list, and I mean everything, is there because you put it there. Directly or indirectly. So sometimes you've literally put it there. Sometimes you've agreed with somebody else to do something and then you've committed to it and you've allowed them to put it on your agenda. But it's there because you've put it there. Now, when you realize that you are in control of your to-do list, that brings it back to you. Now you can start saying, well, if I'm not happy with what's going on, then it's in my control to change things.
And that gives things a whole different perspective, doesn't it?
Absolutely. Because it's that sense of overwhelm, is a sense of being out of control, not able to do anything, and basically being at the beck and call of other people. When you bring it back to you, you can start taking control. You can start taking some actions.
It's interesting, is it, because so many people, I'm sure, who are listening to this saying, well, that's all right for you, but how do I tell my boss or my mother-in-law that what she's given or he's given me to do on my to-do list, I don't want to do? And so part of this comes the confidence with being assertive, not aggressive, but assertive enough to say to the boss, you've asked me to do this. I'm happy to do it, but what do you want me not to do in order to have time to do it?
Absolutely.
Or go on.
And again, it's with this mindset is if we're bringing back into control of ourselves, then everything that's on our plate is a choice.
Yeah.
We choose to have it. So our starting point is actually to think, what is the choice I've made? Why is it here?
Yes.
And you might have to go deep. So there might, as an example, let me give an example. Oh, you got to pay taxes.
Yeah.
You got to pay taxes. Okay, fair enough. But there's a condition to that. I've got to pay taxes in this country if I want to live in this country.
Yes.
I've made a choice to live and work in this country, and therefore I've got to pay taxes. That's a choice.
Yeah.
I do have the ability to go somewhere else and try something different, to a different tax rate if I want to, but I want to live in this country. So part of the agreement of that is I pay taxes. Doesn't change the outcome, but it changes our mindset and it changes our perception of it, that, oh no, I've chosen to do this. And then we approach it in a different manner.
I think it's really important for us to focus on that for a moment. It's that when we make that decision to choose to do something rather than I've got to do this, or I need to do that, I must, I should. And we use all of those words which have a really different energy. I'm going to choose to do this. I'm going to choose to do this and actually be comfortable with that choice.
Yeah, and there's so much pressure out need, must, should.
Yeah.
You're boxed in, and there's no escape, and that's where anxiety and stress comes from. When you switch it to the choice, yeah. I choose to do this because when you think about the reason behind it, I say, no, I choose to pay taxes because I want to live in this country and I want to run a business. I choose to take the thing that my boss has given to me because I enjoy the job or whatever it is, but you understand it. Then it sort of, it releases you and takes the weight off your shoulders.
And I think it's important while we're talking about this, that this principle of choice, taking radical responsibility for your choices, and those who've heard me before will know that I bang on about taking radical responsibility. that it filters through into every element of your life.
Mm.
So if you're in an unhappy relationship and you are putting up with somebody treating you badly, and, you know, he or she makes me unhappy, she or he makes me angry, recognize that that's your choice too.
Absolutely.
And I think that what you're offering in that observation around choice and is giving people freedom. And if they choose to take on board the fact that they have a choice and to exercise that choice in terms of, you may not be able to change things, but you can change the way in which you view it and deal with it, that's a game changer for life.
Yeah, absolutely. And always remember with those keywords, there is absolutely nothing that you have to do, need to do, must do, should do. There's nothing. If you ever hear those words, then stop and complete the sentence. I need to do this if what? In order to what? Within a context, yes, it becomes a need or a must, but you extend it and find the choice behind it. There's always a choice behind everything. So this relationship that I'm in, I don't have to stay in this relationship unless there's something I want. And then it's choosing that bigger picture, that bigger direction that you're talking about. And then you can align it to your vision, purpose, and all the rest of it.
I think that it's such an important principle. And I would like to spend the last part of the show talking with you about how people block their success and the sort of things that they can do to unblock them. I know we've got a very limited time. You're going to have to come back on the show, Andrew. There's just too much to talk about.
I'm all applied to time management because it is applicable to all things. And if people access my book, I'll go into a bit more detail on this. But because once you realize it's a choice, we do also have to recognize that there are some things, that patterns that we run, subconscious things that we do, that we don't think about our choices. It's an automatic stuff from things that have happened in the past. So it's taking that moment to just reflect and observe. So if we are looking at our to-do list and recognizing that everything we put on there is a choice, when we end up in a situation where it's gone wrong, because it will,
it's called life, isn't it?
It's called life. Let's look back and see, okay, why did that come on my to-do list? Why did I allow that in? Why did I say yes? Now, I would say there's normally 4 underlying reasons. One of them is around purpose and motivation. So there's that starting point of where am I going and why am I doing any of this stuff? So you've got a bigger picture anyway. So if the thing you're not doing or don't want to do is not in line with where you're going, then that's probably part of it. So always start with that why anyhow. But beyond that, it's touching on Maslow at the end of the day, but essentially with things we are programmed to do is to keep ourselves safe, make sure people like us, and make sure we look good. But those are 3 things. So if we use time management as an example, normally it's our boundaries. We're letting our boundaries go. Someone says, can you do this? You say yes, when you should have said no. Why did I say yes instead of no? And then it's just a moment reflecting. Was I scared? Was I scared that I might lose my job, or that client might run away, that whatever it might be? Am I worried about the financial implications of saying no? Am I worried that the other person will get angry and reject me effectively? Think bad of me, and I'll lose a bad feeling when we get that. Or third thing, will they say bad things about me? Yes. Will my reputation be damaged? So at a high level, these are sort of the 3 key things that tend to be the automatic patterns that we try to avoid. And one of them will probably stand out more often than not. So very common, people pleasers, as an example, they'll say yes to everybody and no to themselves all the time. So yeah, can you do that for me? No problem. Shove it on the plate, pile it on the on the runway. And every time they're scared of rejecting the other person and being rejected. So yes, some more work might be needed in that space, but at least you now know where to look and where you need to do the work.
I think everything you've said is absolutely true. The one thing I'd like to add to that is often the whole thing is compounded by people then feeling bad about the fact that they have allowed themselves to say yes. And so they then are resentful or angry or frustrated on top of that. And those are states of mind which are very expensive in terms of energy. They do nothing to build you up. They deplete your sense of resourcefulness, don't they?
Yeah, and it's an excellent point, because it actually applies to all forms of change.
Yes.
Because when you make a mindset shift or a realization of how things should be, there is then that danger of moving into comparison and thinking, this is the ideal world, how I want it to be, and this is where I am now. Grr, I'm not there yet.
Yes.
But we've got to recognize that it isn't going to change overnight. It's a progress, it's a journey, and every time you improve and get better, you're going in the right direction.
Comparatonitis, which is what I call it, is a deadly virus. And yes, it's one that you actually want to find the cure for, because it's the minute you start comparing yourself. There was a program on a bit on the news this morning about people's body image. The minute you start to compare yourself with the model that's been airbrushed to death, you're hiding to nowhere, aren't you?
Yeah. And what's the underlying thing? Comes back to right at the beginning. Be happy with who you are in the now.
Yeah. And that doesn't mean that you don't recognize that there are areas for development. It's not a static thing.
No.
It is recognizing that in this moment, this is where I am, this is my starting point, and that I have the opportunity to move and do things differently.
Yeah, it's like going from New York to Los Angeles. It's like, I want to get there. I'm not going to do it. There's no teleport machine around. It's going to take some time to get there. Every time I put one foot in front of the other, or a few more miles in the car, or whatever it is, I'm going in the right direction, and that's okay. That's okay. I'm in the right place, going in the right direction. Spot on.
Excellent. So, Andrew, where can people find you?
I'm around lots of places. Probably the best things to go are my website, businessenjoyment.com. If you go on there, then the little button will come up with an option to look at my TED Talk, which goes through some of the things I was talking about at the beginning, a bit more detail. It will allow you also to download my book, More Than Just Money, which goes into a bit more info, and also goes through that a bit more detail in terms of what we just touched on there about solving issues and how to apply that model to it. And then LinkedIn, Andrew Miller. There's probably a few of us who use Business Enjoyment as well. Follow me on there. And again, you were talking about the Your Purpose Challenge, which comes every few months. It'll come up in there. So connect with me, say hello, say where you met me, ting the little bell, and you'll see any releases and information I'm sending out. And
the Purpose Challenge is completely free to do. It takes 5 working days. I've done it, and I found it a really great thing to do. Only
an hour, 45 minutes to an hour each day.
No, not 5 whole days. That's really important.
It's coming. Have a rethink about a few things. Go and do some work. Come back, and very interactive and thought-provoking.
And I did it bearing in mind that I'm very clear about my sense of purpose, but it was interesting how much I learned about myself and how useful it was. So I can thoroughly recommend that.
And thoroughly appreciated your comments, because as you say, knowing the experience you have, it's you always worry when you do these things. It's like, this stuff, you don't want to hear this. So
I found it very insightful, and I think it doesn't matter which level you are. If it's something where you're just starting, one of the strengths of the challenge is it takes you from where you're at.
Yeah.
It doesn't assume anything, but neither does it patronize you. It offers you a very safe space to explore this. So my thanks for that. I did it a few months ago, and it was really great. And I know a number of people have done it and found it really helpful. So thank you for that. Thank you very much for joining me. It's been an absolute pleasure, as always, to talk to you. For those of you who are listening, please let me know how you like the show. Email me at Gina, Gina, at genuinely-you. That's Gina at genuinely, GENUINELY-u.com. Love to hear from you. If there are particular themes you'd like us to cover on the show, that would be great too. But thank you very much for being with us, and you take care, and I look forward to seeing you on the next show. Bye-bye now.